The snow fell softly on the Powder River country, blanketing the land in a silence so deep it felt like the earth itself was holding its breath. In a lodge warmed by buffalo hides and firelight, a lone figure studied the flames. His name was Maļpíya Lúta, Red Cloud. To the U.S. Army, he was the most dangerous kind of enemy, a warrior who could fight but chose instead to think. This is not the story of a reckless rebel. This is the story of the only Native American leader to ever win a war against the United States, not just with bullets, but with brilliance. The boy who had become Red Cloud learned his first lesson in strategy at age 10, when a rival band stole his favorite pony. While other youths clamored for immediate revenge, young Maļpíya Lúta spent 3 days observing the thieves' camp. He noted when guards changed shifts, where the horses were corralled, and which routes offered clean escapes. Under cover of a moonless night, he didn't just retrieve his pony. He took 3 of theirs and left a single owl feather stuck in the dirt. The message was clear: I walked among you, and you never knew. This quiet brilliance defined his early adulthood. Where other warriors earned prestige through coup counts, Red Cloud studied the iron roads. After witnessing his first steam train in 1851, he predicted railroads would stitch the land like scars unless stopped. White man's paper magic. He had treaty terms read aloud repeatedly until he understood how phrases like "in perpetuity" could twist into lies. The Army's weakness noted soldiers' dependence on supply lines after finding a starving cavalry patrol that had lost its wagons. His defining insight came during the 1865 Powder River expedition. Watching bluecoat soldiers flounder in winter storms, he realized they fight the land as much as us. This birthed his revolutionary strategy: don't attack armies, attack their ability to exist. Summer 1868, the once proud Bozeman Trail now resembled a graveyard. Every mile bore markers: Fort Laramie's wood train massacre site, where decoy riders had lured 51 soldiers to their deaths. The ruins of Hayfield Fight, where circling warriors let thirst do their work as trapped troops drank their own urine. The abandoned Crazy Woman Fork Station, its logs still charred from Red Cloud's signature tactic, burning telegraph poles to blind the army. Inside Fort Laramie, General William Tecumseh Sherman, fresh from burning Atlanta, found himself outmaneuvered by a man who'd never attended West Point. The peace terms were unprecedented. Total withdrawal from all 3 forts within 90 days. The Black Hills Guarantee, forever written in ink this time. Annual annuities, including weapons and ammunition, a clause Red Cloud insisted on, knowing lead could be melted into bullets. The masterstroke came during negotiations. When Colonel Henry Maynadier boasted the army could return any time, Red Cloud placed a single iron-tipped arrow on the table. "Then we'll make new graves," he said, through the interpreter. The room chilled. For 18 months he'd proven something terrifying to Washington: the West couldn't be won, because the West itself fought for him. Blizzards stranded supply trains, prairie fires erased trails, even the wildlife became weapons. A stampede of bison once scattered an entire cavalry charge. Think you could outsmart an empire? Before you answer, subscribe to see how Red Cloud's victory unraveled and why it matters today. The forts burned for 3 days. As the last U.S. cavalry units retreated eastward in August 1868, the skeletal remains of Forts Laramie, C.F. Smith, and Reno stood as grotesque monuments to the Army's failure. The timbers cracked and groaned as flames licked at the stars and stripes still fluttering atop the flagpoles. Flags the soldiers had deliberately left flying as they fled. A final act of hollow defiance. Red Cloud's warriors moved through the smoke like ghosts. They came not to celebrate, but to salvage. Every blackened nail pulled from the charred ruins was a treasure. The Lakota and their Cheyenne allies had learned the white man's greatest weakness, his dependence on the very things he thought made him superior, the railroad spikes. Young boys collected hundreds from the abandoned Bozeman Trail, their small fingers prying the hot metal from burnt ties. These would be reforged into arrowheads at secret mountain forges, the coal-black steel holding an edge 10 times longer than traditional stone. The paper trail. In a stroke of cruel irony, the wind-scattered pages of army ledger books became kindling for victory fires. But Red Cloud kept 3 intact documents: maps showing water sources, a list of cavalry rotation schedules, and, most precious of all, a personal letter from General Sherman admitting this damned Red Cloud has outplayed us. The silent weapons. The 3,000 pounds of abandoned howitzer shells couldn't be fired without cannons, but the gunpowder proved invaluable. Mixed with crushed volcanic glass and buffalo tallow, it became the key ingredient in burning arrows, projectiles that could ignite wagon trains from 200 yards. When the 2nd Cavalry returned in 1874 to survey the abandoned trail, they found something unnerving. At every former fort site, the Lakota had erected counting coup markers. At Phil Kearny 81, stacked cavalry boots, 1 pair for each Fetterman massacre victim, filled with crushed blue uniforms. At C.F. Smith, a calendar stick notched with 317 marks, 1 for each wagon destroyed during the war. At Reno, a 20-foot pole flying an inverted U.S. flag woven from salvaged officers' sashes. Most chilling was what they didn't find. Not a single Lakota corpse, no graves, no abandoned weapons, no sign they'd ever suffered at all. The message was clear: we bled you and it cost us nothing. Modern indigenous activists still study Red Cloud's campaign. In 2016 at Standing Rock, protesters used salvaged railroad ties to build barricades, just as the Lakota had used fort timbers. They disrupted supply lines by blocking Highway 1806, a 21st-century Bozeman trail. They employed moccasin telegraph social media tactics, mirroring the scout runners. Even the Army acknowledges his genius. The 2006 Irregular Warfare Manual cites Red Cloud's logistical terrorism as the first documented use of supply chain interdiction, attacking wood trains, climate warfare, forcing winter engagements, and psychological dominance, the owl feather calling card. In 1877, when the government seized the Black Hills anyway, Red Cloud sent President Hayes a single gift: a carefully wrapped bundle containing 1 1868 treaty, burned edges but legible, a spent .50 70 government cartridge, the Army's own round, and a child's moccasin stained with smallpox scabs. The accompanying note, written by a missionary at gunpoint, read, "You keep the words, we keep the land, the sickness is yours now." Red Cloud didn't just win a war, he wrote the playbook for defeating empires. If you believe these lessons matter today, subscribe and turn on notifications. Who should we profile next? The Inuit whale hunters who sank a whaling fleet, the Navajo code talkers' secret strategy? Comment below.